Each red arrow on the map marks, this time, not a conflict, but a strategic opportunity. An empty tanker filling up with oil in the Gulf of Mexico and not in the Strait of Hormuz. Through this seemingly simple image, one of the most ambitious geopolitical moves of recent years is taking shape. Donald Trump has managed, in a remarkably short time, to permanently restructure global oil flows in favor of the United States. Moreover, through this strategy, his administration appears to have postponed for decades the risk of a new large-scale world conflict. The latest piece of this puzzle was announced just today, a complete naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. This is not an isolated act, but the logical continuation of a grand strategy that began with taking control of Venezuela and is now targeting the most sensitive point in global energy supply. Iran had promised to reopen the strait, but deliberately failed to honor its commitment. President Trump reacted firmly. This has caused anxiety, disruption, and pain for many people and countries around the world. He pointed out that Tehran had mined the waters, even though most of its warships and specialized mine-laying vessels had already been destroyed. Diplomatic meetings had progressed on several points, but failed exactly where it mattered most, the nuclear file. In response, Trump ordered the U.S. Navy, the best in the world, to immediately block any ship trying to enter or exit the Strait of Hormuz. The announced principle is clear: all in and all out, everything or nothing. No exceptions for allies, no discrimination. Either all ships have free access or none do. We will not allow Iran to make money by selling oil to people they like and not to others, Trump declared. He compared the action to what happened in Venezuela, but on a much higher level. Beyond the rhetoric, the stakes are profound. Iran had tried to use the Strait of Hormuz, one of the planet's most critical energy choke points, as an instrument of geopolitical blackmail, behaving similarly to Somali pirates. The U.S. administration believes that this very type of leverage is precisely why Iran cannot be allowed to develop nuclear weapons. A nuclear North Korea has survived thanks to its conventional ability to threaten Seoul. Iran was trying to replicate the same logic on a European scale, developing intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of striking European capitals. That is why the preemptive strike was considered essential. A nuclear Iran would have almost inevitably triggered a nuclear arms race across the entire Middle East, a region already extremely unstable.
Meanwhile, on naval tracking maps, a remarkable phenomenon can be observed. Dozens of giant tankers are heading toward American ports to load up. Big, beautiful tankers, Trump described them, and we're filling them with oil, gas, and everything else. It's quite a beautiful thing to see. The global oil shock has been felt with some delay due to stocks already in transit across the oceans. But now, with the Strait of Hormuz blocked and Russia under sanctions, alternative sources of oil are dramatically shrinking. The United States, together with Venezuela, now under American control, become the world's only major reliable supplier. This new energy reality is not just an economic matter. It strengthens the position of the U.S. dollar, limits China's ability to finance any potential military adventure, and forces Europe to reassess its dependence on a region controlled by instability and terrorist threats. It remains to be seen how long the blockade will last and whether Iran will ultimately accept the harsh conditions imposed by Washington. What is certain, however, is that for the first time in many years, the United States has managed to turn a crisis into a major strategic advantage, rewriting the rules of the game in global energy trade. The Western oil bloc, controlled by the United States, has effectively become the only viable option left on the global market. Russia is under severe sanctions, the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, and Canada lacks the port capacity necessary to export significant quantities internationally. Its entire oil industry is designed almost exclusively for the American market. As a result, the main oil exporters today remain the United States and Venezuela, whose oil is now under American control. This restructuring was not accidental. It pursued two major objectives: protecting the supremacy of the U.S. dollar and securing decisive strategic leverage over China, the world's largest oil importer. Iran had directly attacked the dollar-based system by offering free access through the Strait of Hormuz to ships that paid for oil in Chinese yuan. Tehran believed it could blackmail the international community in Beijing's interest. Washington's response was direct and radical: the complete closure of the strait. Thus, any country that needs essential oil, and not least fertilizers, is practically forced to return to transactions in U.S. dollars. That is why President Trump declared that he is not particularly concerned whether the strait remains open or not. The United States wins either way. "We have defeated Iran militarily," Trump stated. "Their navy is gone. Out of 158 ships, most have been destroyed. The 28 mine-laying vessels have been sunk. We have minesweepers in the area and are clearing the strait. Whether we reach an agreement or not, it doesn't matter to me." Peace negotiations between the United States and Iran have ended without an agreement, yet the U.S. administration appears rather satisfied with this outcome. American forces have already begun an active mission to clear mines from the Strait of Hormuz, while Trump and U.S. Central Command have reaffirmed that Washington will not allow Tehran to develop intercontinental ballistic missiles or nuclear weapons, and is prepared to continue preemptive strikes if necessary.
The world is beginning to adapt to this new geopolitical reality. The calculation that governments and corporations are now making is how quickly they can reduce dependence on a region that has proven unstable and could remain so for years to come. Even if the strait were to become operational again tomorrow, nothing guarantees that it will not descend back into chaos after just a few weeks. The United States firmly positions itself as the only predictable, stable, and reliable energy exporter. Global markets rely on predictability, stability, and efficiency, qualities that the Strait of Hormuz, even under the best conditions, can no longer provide. This conflict has demonstrated to the entire world the major risks of dependence on a single critical transit point that can be paralyzed at any time by non-state actors or fanatical regimes. Iran believed it held absolute leverage over the strait. Reality has shown, however, that the global market is far more adaptable than expected, and the regime in Tehran has managed to prove that, as long as it remains in power, predictability in that area will be impossible. Europe, the United States' main ally, finally seems to be waking up to the harsh reality that energy dependence on the whims of unstable actors and Islamist terrorists is profoundly unsustainable. If Europeans are unable or unwilling to actively contribute to securing energy routes, Washington appears ready to leave the strait closed and invite them to buy oil directly from the United States when they wake up and smell the roses, as Trump suggested. Even J.D. Vance, who spent 21 hours at the negotiating table with the Iranian side, acknowledged that the talks had reached a profound impasse. At the core of the American position lies a clear and non-negotiable demand: a firm, long-term commitment from Iran that it will not pursue the development of nuclear weapons or the means to acquire them quickly. The uranium enrichment facilities that Iran previously possessed have already been destroyed, but Washington is demanding something deeper: a genuine change in strategic will. In conclusion, this crisis has created a win-win situation for the United States. If Iran accepts the conditions, the strait reopens, the nuclear threat disappears, and stability increases. If it refuses, the blockade continues, Iran remains isolated, and global oil flows shift massively toward the United States, further strengthening America's economic, geopolitical, and military position. It is as if the nighttime capture of Nicolás Maduro was not an impulsive act, but the first calculated move in a broad, well-thought-out strategic plan designed to reinforce the United States' dominant position in the 21st century.